Right now you're listening to me on the Sennheiser MKH50, which is a condenser microphone that I've been using as my main microphone on pretty much all of my videos for the past 2 years. This might be my all-time favorite microphone, and I don't know of many other tools that I've introduced into my workflow that have leveled up the quality as intensely and immensely as the MKH50. The only downside to this microphone is that it is $1,200. So while I think the microphone is worth its price, I also understand not everyone, probably most people, don't want to or shouldn't even spend $1,200 on a microphone. So what if I told you that now you're listening to me on a $250 microphone that's positioned in the exact same place as the Sennheiser MKH50, and I think, even though it sounds different, it also sounds absolutely excellent. This is one of the most underrated shotgun microphones that I've ever used, and I feel bad that I haven't made this video before. This is the Technica AT897. So now you're listening to me on the Technica AT897, which after 897 tries, I finally remembered the product name for it. This microphone has an MSRP of $249, and it is a condenser shotgun microphone. And I think it's really one of the underrated, just best overall values. I've been using these microphones since 2012, so well over 10 years at this point, and they're just incredibly solid. When I was a high school digital media teacher, I set up several different programs at different schools where we used a lot of these microphones. I think I've ordered something like 20 or 25 of them over that period of time that I was teaching, and they're just, one, being used by high school students and not breaking, so that's a good sign of reliability, but also delivering great results. It's also just an incredibly versatile microphone, and I think just a really good value. You do get this big box that comes with it, and you get kind of everything you need, which is always nice. You get the microphone itself, you do get this windscreen, which is very useful and important to use, and it does help with plosive, so Peter Piper pitched a podcast. Of course, the way I'm using the microphone right now, not really how it's designed to be used, but I wanted you to see it on camera and hear what it sounds like. We'll test it out a lot later. Don't worry. But you also get a AA battery, you get a microphone mount, a 5/8 to 3/8 adapter, and these little rings, because the one thing I really don't like about Audio-Technica shotgun mics is they're just skinnier than other mics, so they don't fit in standard mic holders. For example, the handle of my Sony FX3, it won't fit in here. If you put these rubber rings around the microphone, then it will fit into holders like this. But it does come with its own proprietary, properly sized microphone holder. Now, I did mention that it comes with a AA battery. This is a condenser microphone that requires power, and you can do that one of two ways. You can either use that AA battery. The microphone just unscrews and the battery goes right in here. There's no on or off switch or anything though. Or you can run it off of phantom power. I prefer to run it off of phantom power. Like right now, you're hearing it through the Rodecaster Pro 2 with no processing and no effects, but yes, phantom power. And my gain is at 35 decibels on the Rodecaster Pro 2 to get this level. If I add in a little bit of effects and processing, now that's what it kind of sounds like. It's a microphone that does work well when you add EQ and processing to it, which is something you probably should be doing in your audio workflow. But even if I take this off and just go back to the original sound, I still think that this sounds pretty good just out of the box. It's a really great natural sounding microphone. But if you don't have phantom power, most mixers do, but not every camera does. So if you wanted to run this into a camera that does not have phantom power, then you can just use a battery and you don't have to worry about needing power from the camera. The microphone has only one physical switch, which is a high pass filter or a low roll off filter. So it will reduce some of those low frequencies, which is really good if you're in an environment with lots of rumbling like wind or air conditioners, or sometimes you're just recording someone with a really, really deep voice. So this is the microphone this is the full microphone sound. There's nothing cut off. And if I flip that little switch, now we have reduced some of those low end frequencies. I do have a couple fans on lights in here, and I do have an air conditioner going right now. So maybe some of that got reduced a little bit, and we will be doing some more side-by-side comparisons and sound comparisons in just a little bit. I'm going to put that back with the full microphone sound for the rest of this video. I'm also going to put it back in the stand because you might have noticed it's pretty susceptible to handling noise. Now, this is a really versatile microphone, and I've used these in a lot of ways over the past 10, 11-ish years that I've been working with them, including like this, because the very first time that I put together a podcast recording setup, it was actually based just around 4 of these microphones running into an old mixer and then out into a Zoom H4n recorder. And the reason I use these is just because they're what we had, and we had no budget for new equipment to set up the podcasts. And I think they sounded really good because we were in this big, echoey warehouse, non-sound treated environment. And because these microphones are so directional and they were so close to the speakers, I thought they sounded really good. In fact, a year later, we were able to get a grant for better podcasting equipment. And so, of course, I was like, we're getting SM7Bs and boom arms and all this stuff. And the SM7Bs sounded so much worse because it wasn't the best microphone for that situation. We needed so much gain. The space wasn't sound treated. It was big. It was echoey. And everything just sounded kind of bad through the SM7B. The reason I tell you that story is because even though these are not meant to be, close up, handheld, spoken word microphones, they work pretty well that way. And it's just a versatile microphone. So especially if you're on a budget and you need a microphone that can do more than one thing, this could be a really great option. And again, the sound quality, I think this sounds really great, but let's compare it to a more expensive option. So here is my Sennheiser MKH50. This is my main microphone. This microphone really is not made to be used close up like this. So if I switch over to it, hello, this is me on the Sennheiser MKH50, a really lovely sounding microphone, but I'm still kind of far away if I get close to it. It's really a microphone that's designed to pick up sound from far away, and it's also very susceptible to plosives. So Peter Piper pitched a podcast. That's usually not an issue because the microphone is far away and you're not hitting it with plosive air, but when you're close to it, that could be a problem. I definitely wouldn't recommend the MKH50 for a close use application like this. So we'll do some far away tests in just a second, but I want to talk about the directionality and the sound quality. So again, this is a Sennheiser MKH50, a $1,200 microphone, and this is the Audio-Technica AT897, a $249 microphone. So in America, that's basically the sales tax of the MKH50 in some places. And in terms of directionality, they're both very directional. I know they're not exactly the same thing. This is a shotgun mic. This is really more of a pencil condenser microphone. But for the average, I'm making this video not for a Hollywood production studio. Like if you are Universal Pictures and you're watching this to figure out how to run your audio, you need a lot more help. For normal human beings who just want to get better audio in a home or a small office type setup, a lot of us just call these shotgun microphones or boom microphones. Any microphone that's on a boom suddenly becomes a boom microphone. But I think for most people, when they think of that, they think of sort of a longer microphone that's meant to pick up sound from a distance and is a bit more directional and rejects sound that's not pointed directly at. So without getting too audibly technical about the Audio-Technica, here is some directionality. If I talk directly into the microphone, this is what it sounds like. And as I turn the microphone away, you can hear that my voice drops off really quick behind the microphone. It's hard to hear anything. And we come back around at the other side. And now pretty much from, what is this, like less than 45 degrees to dead on to back over here, 30 degrees, it's a pretty narrow pickup range in order for my voice to stand out the best. Now, the MKH50 is also an incredibly directional microphone. So as I turn this microphone away, my voice drops off pretty quick, almost to nothing as I'm behind the microphone. And then we go all the way around and now my voice comes back. And that's one of the things I really love about this microphone is how directional it is, because even from a distance, it almost feels like it just zeroes in on the source of the sound that you want. And going back over here to the Audio-Technica, it is also a really well-built microphone. It's entirely all metal. Like I said, these have stood up to high school students using and sometimes unintentionally or intentionally abusing them for years upon years upon years, and they just hold up really well. So the Audio-Technica AT897 is not the newest microphone. It's not something that just came out and has all this crazy cutting edge tech. It's just a solid choice that has been around for a really long time. But now, while we're talking about how these microphones reject noise, I have this very, very scientific device. It is a white noise machine, and this is great to have in a guest room or to take with you on vacation, by the way. But if I turn this on, it just makes white noise to help you sleep. It's really wonderful. And let's just hear how this not only rejects my voice, but also the white noise. So right here, we have a lot of white noise next to me. I bet if I turned on the noise gate on the Rodecaster, it might start going a little crazy here, trying to cut out the white noise. So in theory, let's put this over here on my desk. It's about an arm's length away now. It's running fully, and it's, not in the pickup pattern of the microphone, but that's what it sounds like if there was a source of white noise in the room with me. And same thing with the Audio-Technica AT897. This is what it sounds like with that source of white noise in the room with me, but not in the directional pickup pattern of the microphone. So now that we've looked at these two microphones, as I mentioned before, they are not meant to be used this way. This is not their intended use. If it works, right? But they are not designed to be held really close or used as interview microphones. They are meant to be positioned on a boom pole, out of frame, away from the source of the sound. So let's do that right now. And now you're listening to me on the Sennheiser MKH50 boomed overhead, normally where I have it positioned in most of my videos. So the audio for most of my videos over the past 2 years has basically been this. It's an iFootage boom arm that's attached directly to my tripod head. So that way the microphone is just about an arm's length away, about maybe a meter away from me. And this is what that sounds like. You can definitely hear more of the room tone than you could when it was right next to me. And then oftentimes what I'll do in Final Cut Pro is add in just a little bit of voice isolation. So this is without any of that. And now this is what it sounds like after I usually add in a little bit of voice isolation. Again, there's no effects and no processing happening in the Rodecaster Pro 2. This is all Final Cut, and back to just the raw audio of the microphone. The radio of the microphone. This is the Sennheiser MKH50, a $1,200 microphone mounted out of frame about 1 meter away. And this is now the Audio-Technica AT897, a $250 microphone mounted on the same mount, the same distance away from me. This is what that sounds like, again, with no processing, no EQ, but if I add in a little voice isolation in Final Cut Pro, this is what that sounds like. So again, when you're recording audio with a microphone, keeping in mind that you probably might need to add a little bit of EQ and things like voice isolation just to make it pop in the perfect way is something to be aware of. So this is the Audio-Technica AT8. This is the Audio-Technica microphone, now with nothing, no voice isolation. This is just how it sounds directly into the Rodecaster Pro 2. And again, I am about 1 meter away, but if I take off my headphones and I awkwardly move over here, now I'm probably a good, 2 or 3 meters-ish away, is about as far as I can get. This is what it sounds like. This is way too far, but this is what that sounds like. I guess we could try adding some voice isolation. So this is what the Audio-Technica sounds like from way too far away, adding in some voice isolation. And this is now what the Sennheiser MKH50 sounds like from way too far away with no voice isolation. This is what it sounds like when I add in voice isolation to the Sennheiser. There's plenty of room for me to stand up. I guess I'm trying to angle my voice over here. This is what the MKH50 sounds like with voice isolation in Final Cut Pro. Take off the voice isolation, come back over here, and sit down like normal, a little closer to the microphone. This is the MKH50, and this is the Audio-Technica mic without any voice isolation, just running directly into the Rodecaster Pro 2. Now, another thing you might notice is because these microphones are further away from me, there are no issues with plosives on either of them. The Audio-Technica, no plosive problems, and the Sennheiser, no plosive problems, because I'm so far away from them that it's not an issue. And that's how the microphones are intended to be used, is from a distance. So even though up close they're very susceptible to plosives, far away they are not. And back to the Audio-Technica AT897. Now, as you can see, these microphones do have very different sound qualities. They don't sound exactly the same, but neither one is better or worse. They're just different. So which one you prefer is just a matter of personal preference. And again, you can EQ mics to suit different needs. The thing about microphones, and the same goes with camera reviews, we'll go back to the Sennheiser now, is that sometimes what can happen is you can compare things and go, look, this really cheap version can get the same quality as this really expensive version. And that can be true, but a big part of that is how easy it is to get that quality. And one thing with the Sennheiser MKH50 is since I started using it, it has become so much easier to get high quality audio in my videos than it ever was before. And normally I just run it into this audio handle of the Sony FX3, so I don't even have to sync the audio or anything. It's a very, very easy workflow. Now over here on the Audio-Technica microphone, a big problem sometimes when you use the really cheap version of things is that even though the end result can be fine, the road to get there is a nightmare, and it's like so much work and it's such a clunky workflow. That is not the case with the Audio-Technica AT897, and that's why I feel so bad that I just kind of took it for granted and totally forgot about it as an option, which is why I really wanted to make this video to just point out that this is a really awesome, really underrated option if you're looking for a good, solid, versatile shotgun microphone. And while a microphone like the Sennheiser MKH 50 has been kind of one of the most revolutionary tools that I've introduced into my workflow ever, and I think that it is worth every penny you pay for it, it's also that's a lot of pennies, and maybe not everybody wants to spend that on a microphone. The Technica AT897, that super catchy name, is just a really super solid choice. And speaking of things that are super solid, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. The perks are the same between them, so if you'd like to support the channel, whatever's easiest, whatever you prefer, if it's YouTube or if it's Patreon, you get the same perks. Either way, it is greatly appreciated and helps me to do more of what I love to do. And if you're interested in that Sennheiser MKH 50, check out my full review along with a comparison of the MKH 50 versus the Sennheiser MKH 416, another legendary microphone.